So PJI stands for Positional Joint Isolation CARs, and they kind of elaborate on just the concept of CARs in that you have a tendency to do them in a certain way, but then you're patternizing yourself in that way. And so the idea is that, like, if you're always training, like, say, the spine car in this position, what's my scapula doing? What position is it in? It's protracted, it's open. So now I'm always training my spine in scap protraction. If I start doing my shoulder car here, what orientation's my scapula or spine in? It depends, right? You're patternizing yourself in the car. And so the idea of a PJI car is that it's decoupling joints further than they already are, right? It's creating further remapping, cortical remapping. It's creating better internal grid, spatial awareness, all those things. So we're going to look at this as like a dynamic upper body warm-up and an effort to just challenge your joints in different orientations relative to one another so that we're not patternizing ourselves and preventing accommodation. So the first one we're going to do is go over the spine car, but doing it with scapular retraction rather than protraction, because all of us do the scap car, or not the scap car, the spine car, either hugging yourself, holding a ball with your arms like this, but never once have we ever discussed doing a spine car with our arms in this position so that the scap is retracted, right? So the same sequence is going to occur, right? It's the exact same sequence, but you're not going to get as much flexion. Like, you can't achieve as much flexion of the spine if my arms are in this position, because workspace isn't the goal. The goal is training the relationship between the joints in a different dynamic. Does that make sense? And so, like, we're going to go over the shoulder car today, but for the shoulder car, you're going to keep your scap retracted, and your range of motion is going to be like a third of what it would be otherwise. That's the point, right? It's to challenge them in different relations to one another. I want you guys standing up and watching how when she holds the bar, the difference that her spine is actually seeing. So go ahead and find full extension the whole way. You guys could probably imagine, I'm going to give you a PVC pipe to do this as well, but you could probably imagine that it's easier to find extension in this position. Go ahead and try flexion now. So think about curving your spine in that position. You're not going to get as much flexion. So when she's in this position, I want you thinking, not flexing as much as I can, but how much am I flexing with the scap in retraction? Does that make sense? And it's so easy for us to be patternized in thinking, how far can I go? That's not the goal anymore. The goal is in this position, how far can I go? And it's not going to look the same as it would as you typically would do it. So think extension. Let's start with that. So you guys are going to do the same sequence in a minute. I'm going to demonstrate one on her, and then I want you guys practicing it for a minute, and then we'll move on and do shoulder. Okay? So we have full extension the whole way through. Rotate one way or the other, left or right. Hips are still, maintain full extension. And now think lateral flexion, water out of the ear. And just again, all you're doing the whole time is thinking, how much workspace do I have with these constraints in mind, right? And so same sequence, think lateral flexion, rotation, then find flexion. You got it right there. And then bring it around forward. And you can see looking at her right away, she's not getting as much flexion as she would get otherwise. And that's okay, that's kind of the point. Finds full rotation, full lateral bend with water out of the ear, finding full extension. Reset, find full extension all the way up. We have full-blown extension. Now rotate to the left, watch the hips. Water out of the ear, find lateral bend, and then flex. And again, shortening, regressive flexion. It doesn't matter how it looks. Internally, pause, we have as much flexion as she's going to get with her scap relatively retracted. Rotate back to me. Water out of the ear. And extend. Does that make sense? And so again, turn around for a moment. Scap's retracted. If I take the pole from her and she hugs herself as she normally would, scap's pulled open. That's all it is. It's the exact same thing, but adding layers of complexity to it.
You're actively creating tension with the rhomboids like the entire time.
Yeah, the whole time. And so part of it is like the setup is forcing you in some retraction. You don't need to sit here and do this the whole time, but the idea is that you're just creating some biasy, right? And so like I could sit here and like, I guess in theory I could sit here and be like this and do the spine car, but having like a fixed object to kind of put yourself in and then just see where can I go from here, I think makes a lot more sense. Same thing, right? The exact same cues are applying. Find full extension, take inventory. Do I have all my extensors contracting? Once you find it, find rotation. And then just take inventory of how does that feel relative to when we do a standard spine car.
Normally with a spine car, we would tuck the chin first. Are you still having that idea?
No, in theory you'd be in full extension, rotate, but then when you flex you would tuck the chin and continue because you're still thinking cervical spine. Yeah, so go ahead and find that for me. Full extension, think rotation, and you guys are just exploring workspace with scapular retraction and where can the spine move. So now pause, Johan. Can you get more flexion here? And that's about it, right? You notice how you're getting more thoracic flexion, but we can't from the lumbar. Continue the sequence, rotate back, yep. That's the end. Laterally flex. Pause. More extension. There you go. Continue. Rotate, rotate, twist, 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 twist. Rotate more, rotate more, rotate more. Good. Water out of your ear. Water out of your ear. Laterally bend. Don't lose it. It's the same sequence. Now flex. Head down. Tuck the chin. You're finding cervical flexion. You're trying to find as much thoracic as you can, but the scapula is retracted. Beautiful. Keep that going. Nice. Water out of the ear. Extend, extend, extend. Watch the hips, straighten your knees more. There, that's more spine. Now continue. Good, keep rotating. Don't push into my pen so much. You're extending at the hip a lot. Nice, nice, nice. Finish your current rep. Slow it down, feel the corners. The corners are where the magic is. And then I want everyone doing a spine car how you typically would with the scap protracted. You're sweating a lot from that. Holy cow. Do the same thing without the scap and retraction so that we can juxtapose them and we can see how they vary from one another, and then we'll move on to the shoulder. So again, same sequence, find extension, flexion, but now the scap's pulled open around us, and we're doing the exact same sequence. Feel how much more flexion we can get into. Feel how extension varies if the scap's fixed in a different position. Just stuff to be thinking about as you explore your workspace and work on that internal grid of yours. We're going to do shoulder next. We're going to do the shoulder in spine rotation, and then you're going to do the shoulder in scapular retraction. So for spine rotation, the setup that I've actually been using and enjoying is doing it like this. What she's going to do is bring one arm across in an effort to keep the spine rotated. She doesn't need the foam roller there. Like the foam roller is just a block. It's another tool. She's going to be in full-blown rotation, and she's going to pivot her arm here in an effort to keep herself in rotation. Now we can do this with extension or flexion, but what makes most sense? Probably extension. So she's going to find full-blown extension, and then we're going to have the exact same sequence, the shoulder car. External rotation, flexion, internal rotation, abduction, extension, and then reverse. So think same sequence, but feel thoracic rotation. Yes. Reach up, slow, slow, slow. Begin internally rotating. Begin internally rotating further, 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 further. That's your end point based on the chair. If the chair wasn't here, she could go into deeper extension. That's fine. Reverse. Find full extension. Externally rotate. Feel the scap working along with the spine being rotated, right? It's just layers of complexity to this. Find full external rotation. Go ahead and give me one more. Reverse, maintain extension, full rotation. Yep, separate spine from hip. Internally rotate further, irradiate, 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 reach, 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 more internal rotation. And then reset, externally rotate. Keep externally rotating, keep externally rotating, all the way around. Does that kind of make sense? So again, just an effort to create a better internal grid afference. How well do joints articulate based on deliberate movement? Rotation with the shoulder car, spine rotation. So I'm going to give you both the chair. I don't care if you use a foam roller. I don't care if you use a yoga block. I don't care if you just sit in rotation. But just don't make sure as you're doing the car, you're not falling out of end range rotation. Then you're defeating the purpose. Yeah, it doesn't matter to me what setup we use, like at all. It's just, again, spine rotation with the scap moving. So you have full-blown rotation. Now take inventory. Can you get more extension here? Now begin your shoulder car sequence. So arms straight, elbows straight, external rotation. You're gonna reach up, but don't lose end range rotation. Start reaching above your head. And again, all you guys are doing is exploring workspace, your shoulder workspace, in spine rotation, and it's gonna feel different than a standard shoulder car. Good. Start internally rotating and hit your block. Internal rotation through the humerus, through the humerus. Keep reaching back, keep reaching back, keep reaching back, keep reaching back. This is your end point for this setup. That's fine. If you didn't like that, right? Let's say you had another tool to sit on. You get more extension here. For right now, we don't care. Lift up, end range extension. You feel your block. Keep tensing, externally rotate. Keep externally rotating. Keep externally rotating. Beautiful. As you come up, keep swiveling. Keep thinking, I'm sitting here and I'm prying you here. More ER, more ER. Feel that capsule gliding through that, all the way across the midline of the body. And now what you guys can also do as well, if you're just sitting here exploring, is flex your thoracic spine. So think about pushing into me here. And then in flexion, you could do the exact same thing. Again, it's not better or worse, it's different depending on what our training goal is. Reverse, so stay in flexion now, push this into me. Do the shoulder car sequence again. More external rotation. Beautiful. Beautiful. Don't lose the flexion of the spine. Wherever your workspace is. Like, more is not better. If you guys can see real quick, Taylor is losing flexion as he does it because, again, he's thinking shoulder workspace, shoulder workspace. He's lost sight of his thoracic flexion. Make sense? He's trying so hard to reach out that we're getting other movement. Flex more. Round it, round it, round it. That's all you got. That's fine. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Reverse. Back up. Shoulder extension. Externally rotate. As you lift up, keep externally rotating, but flex your spine. Keep your spine flexed. Tighten your stomach. Flex your sternum. Drop your sternum more. Beautiful. ER all the way around. All right, let's keep it going. Try the other arm if you haven't already. So you have full-blown rotation, extension or flexion. You could do fairly neutral too. I don't really care. It's kind of for you to explore, right? And then continue the sequence. I think you got a little bit more here in the rotation. That. Now go. It's going to look different and feel different. You're going to feel different shortcomings. You're going to feel different points of emphasis. More extension. Take your time. Find me. More IR. Don't lose the rotation. You see how you lost a little bit there. Just be aware of it. That's all I'm saying. Be aware of it. Don't push into my hands here. So the setup you guys are using, whether it's on a chair, a yoga block, the opposing arm, irradiating tension through the opposing arm might help as well to kind of lock you down. Give me a little bit more ER there. So again, if you're doing a shoulder car, the spine's usually just in this fixed neutral position. You'll get some extension, you'll get some flexion, but usually you're so focused on not moving at the spine that you give your shoulder no other dynamics in conjunction with the spine. So it's to prevent accommodation, decoupling joints further, create a better internal grid. Make sense? Shoulder car on whichever side you want, and let's just watch what naturally occurs. Yeah, just watch what occurs naturally through the shoulder car. Watch what her scap does. And then we're going to adjust her scap position and see how much range of motion is reduced versus when her scapula can kind of like glide freely with her humerus. Same tag, yeah, that's okay. So you see how much range she has in extension, abduction, flexion. What I'm going to do now is tell her to retract her scap, and I'm going to give her tactile feedback. More. You got more? Right there, that. Now lift your arm up, but do not lose contact with my hand. More retraction.
I want to cut into something like this one.
What, another pole?
Yeah.
Find full retraction. Right there. Now keep that retraction. We see the scaps depressed, retracted. Now go into flexion. But don't lose the retraction. Dig this into me. Hold. More. You just lost it. That. That's it. You see how high she can go? You see how high she can go until this starts moving? Dig it back more. Now come out into abduction, as if you're doing the shoulder car. Yes. Can you get any higher up above your head or no? That. Start reaching behind. Start reaching behind. Yep. Start internally rotating. More retraction. More retraction. More retraction. More retraction. Don't lose me. Don't lose me. Don't lose me. Keep reaching. Keep reaching. More extension. Yep. 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 keep going, internally rotate more.
Oh.
And now reverse, don't lose the scap though, don't lose the scap, right there. You see how she fell out of it? I just want you guys to be aware of that, because it's exploring workspace. You can see how much, to get more range, she's thinking to just reach as far as she can. We keep losing the retraction, depression. Reverse. Keep the retraction, keep the retraction. More. That's it. Now start externally rotating. That's all shoulder you got there. More retraction. Now start reaching up over your head, but don't lose this. Don't lose it, don't lose it, don't lose it. Scap back more. That right there. That's it. You see how high she can go? That's all she's got. That's okay. More isn't better, right? We're decoupling, learning to separate this from all this.
I feel like I'm extending my spine a lot.
Does that make sense? And she just said she feels like she's extending her spine a lot. If the scap isn't allowed to move, and you're trying to move just your humerus, what else will want to move? Like, that's okay, but just be aware of it. So, whatever side you guys want to use, you're radiating with the opposing arm. Start with finding scap retraction, wherever that is. Once you have the retraction, start going into flexion. Lift your arm over your head.
Okay, to fully retract both, or we just kind of bias for one?
I was going for one, but if for right now to learn the movement, if doing both helps, fine. It's not that deep. It really isn't that deep. Find full retraction. Yup. You see how much flexion you have there. That's about it, right? That's fine. That's all you got. You got a little bit more, and yeah, okay, don't lose it. Don't lose it. Don't lose me here. Retract further. Retract further. That right there. Now begin internally rotating. Yep. Start reaching around, but don't lose that retraction, depression. Nice. Give me more. Give me more. You lost a little bit. Right there. That right there. You feel that difference? Yeah. Just be aware of it. If you have to cut your circle down because you don't have that much space, that's fine. More isn't better. Feel where the end of your workspace is relative to the scap being pulled. You got more there, man. That right there. Now extension. Decouple your scapula from your shoulder. Learn to rotate the humerus separately from the scapula, gliding with it. Don't lose me here. You got more. Right now you're tilting a little bit. Just be aware of that stuff. Make sense? Keep going with that. Keep going. Internally rotate. Internally rotate. More internal. Be a little bit more deliberate. Here, you got more, man. Keep going. Take your time. Take your time. Make the circle a little smaller. Don't think end range so much. Just feel what the shoulder can do without the scap. Full retraction. Externally rotate. Don't lose me here. Yep. Yep. There you go, man. Good job. Good job. Good job. More retraction. More retraction. More retraction. Don't lose me here. Don't lose me here. Don't lose me here. Pause. Dig that down more. Back more. Good. Now externally rotate. Bring your arm around. You're starting to elevate here. Yep. Bring your arm around now to the front. More ER. Don't lose the scap retraction. Pull it back more. Pull it back more. You got more here. You got more here. Pause. 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 Think about shrugging this back more. There. That. Do you see what I just did right there? Yeah. More of that. Pull that down. Continue across. ER, 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 ER. Thumb out more. Yeah, man. Now pause. Retract more. For those watching the video, you can see he lost that retraction. Do not lose this now. Again, pull that shoulder blade back. There. That. This is what stays glued. Now move where you can move, even if it's above my head. Don't lose the scap though. Don't lose the scap. Don't lose the scap. Give me more. Give me more. Give me more. You got more in the retraction, man. More in the retraction. Yes. Start internally rotating now. Reaching behind you. Don't twist. Don't overextend at the thoracic. Keep this retracted more. More internal rotation. Yes. More internal rotation. More extension now. More extension. More internal rotation. Stay retracted. Externally rotate. Externally rotate. Nice. Watch the spine though. Watch this. More retraction. Yes, that's it. That's all you got, man. You keep coming out of end range retraction. Don't do that. Retract more. Retract more. There. You see how your arm can't go as high as you want it to. That's okay. We're having a hard time decoupling that. Yeah. And that's the point, is it's training new ranges, new neural pathways to reinforce decoupling of the joint. Find protraction. That's it. We can see that the shirt's pulled open, there's no wrinkles. Find external rotation. I don't want to see this moving at all. So now lift your arm up, but the scap stays open. You're not going to get as much flexion. Watch his shirt. That's about the end of his flexion, right? You could see that if you were to go any higher, we'd start getting wrinkles through here. That's what we're trying to avoid. So maintain the protraction. Now start reaching above my head. You're going too high now. You see how you're starting to retract? That's it, right there. Start reaching behind you. That's all you got. Don't go any higher than my hand. Don't go any higher than my hand. You see how much we're shaking there? It's new territory, new neurology. Open up more, open up more. There. Now start reaching into extension. You're not going to have as much extension because the scap wants to retract with shoulder extension. Open more, open more. There, man, yeah. Start reaching behind you. Start reaching behind you. Elbow straight. Back to the starting point, right here. We see protraction, it's very obvious. He has some spine flexion here too, more layers, reverse. That's it. Open up more, he lost it, right there. That's all the extension he has. It's gonna look different. You have to wrap your head around that. That's why it's so challenging. Now externally rotate, do not let this retract. Externally rotate, externally rotate. Yeah, man. Don't let this pull back. Keep this nice and open, no wrinkles in the shirt. ER, ER more, ER, ER, ER. Rotate the thumb out. Yeah, man. Do you guys get that in principle? Okay. When we do scap cars, what are we normally doing this in? Neutral. Why aren't we doing ER and IR bias? So start with full external rotation. So think, how far can I get my arms like this? Right? You could do mid-range. It doesn't need to be extreme end range. The principles are all the same though. The spine stays fixed, the elbow stays straight, the head doesn't bob. Retract. Chest to the floor. Beautiful. Elevate. Shrug up to your ears.
Can I depress first?
You want to depress? Go and depress first. So retraction, depression. Beautiful. Shrug up to your ears. Retract. Back and down. Okay, different points of emphasis. We are now training the scapula's movement around the spine and the rib cage, but with the humerus externally rotated. So I want you guys exploring that and seeing how that feels relative to a standard scap car. If we have shoulder limitation in external rotation, don't you think the scap car in ER is going to be particularly hard? You have a client that has no internal rotation. How hard is it going to be for them to do the scap car with internal rotation? It's going to be increasingly more difficult. So if someone's in the rehab process and they have functional deficits, the level of specificity you're able to provide them is a lot higher based on the setup you're giving them, right? So same concept, internal rotation, retract, elevate, protract. So get a feel for that. Feel how they vary to one another. If you know one of your shoulders is better at ER than the other, feel how that scap relates to that. If one of your shoulders is a lot better at IR than the other, feel how the scap relates to that. So we have a ton of external rotation here. Yep. So think same sequence. Retraction, depression, the shoulder blades are pulling down while you're in the externally rotated position. Now protract. Open up, open up. Open up, not just spine flexion. Yep, you had it, keep going. Keep gliding this open. Now elevate, shrug up to your ears. Beautiful, now retract. Chest to the floor, drop your chest to the ground. Yeah, man, depress. You're still externally rotated. Keep it going. Keep it going. Keep it going. Keep it going. Now reverse, shrug up to your ears. Protract, open up. Depress. Depress, now retract. Make sense? So that would be external rotation bias. It's the same exact sequence, but training layers to it to create some neural complexity, better spatial awareness, better decoupling of joints. You get people with shoulder issues, they struggle with capsule space rotationally. How can we add more specificity to their training and get a little bit more bang for the buck out of their warm-up, a dynamic warm-up, by training ER, IR of the scap, right? You always move the scap before you train the shoulder. Why are we not adding layers to that so that you get a little bit more bang for your buck out of your internal training? And again, full internal, full external, but you can also do the mid-ranges. So like, this doesn't necessarily need to be what you do. You could be more here, right? Depending on what your training goal is. You're not doing many exercises where you're all the way in this position. But if you're going to be doing exercises in this position where you need external rotation, this might make more sense than being all the way here, right? Does it make sense to be internally rotated this far? Maybe, right? I don't want you to assume it's end range, but how much internal rotation do you need to press? Like instead of this, maybe like here, right? Because you have zones to it. And you could also do this with your arms straight, arms bent, and training a PJI, positional joint isolation car, with that in mind. From like a rehab standpoint, and this is important for like sports training, but from a rehab standpoint, if someone has a frozen shoulder, labrum tear, rotator cuff injury, they lost neural connection. But if they lost like the neural pathways from the injury or the replacement, the scapula doesn't move, the spine doesn't move, the shoulder doesn't move. And then they're doing a standard CAR and they feel dysfunction or anything like that. The idea is that the PJI can add deeper layers of specificity to help them reconnect those neural pathways so that they have a higher level of complexity to their training, so that they can have a better spatial awareness, their internal grid. You know, our clients have a very poor internal grid. They're like lost in the car. So how do you create a better internal grid? By altering the positions they're doing the CAR in. Also, how can we prevent accommodation? Because if they just come in here and they're routinely doing this every single time, it's no different than anybody just hopping on a machine and doing it every single time. You're patternizing yourself in the CAR. And the CAR is supposed to be the anti-patternization tool. And the PJI is your way around that. It's a way around that, not the way around it.
I'm trying to think of who would actually benefit from like really emphasizing like internal injury. And I feel like if you're in a grappling sport.
Totally. Yeah, man. If someone's going to armbar you and pull you into that position, absolutely. And in sports specific, there's a lot to be had there that I haven't even given a thought. What comes to mind for me again is like someone who has shoulder history, and I know they suck at internal rotation of the shoulder. So the shoulder CAR has been good, they've been doing it for a while, but why am I not altering their spine and scapula relationship so that we can further connect the neural pathway that they have lost as a result of their injury, surgery, trauma, lack of usage?
Think of it as like more data points the body can use.
That's exactly all it is. That's all it is. It's more data points.
Whereas like you're getting, you might improve the quality of the data, but you're actually getting more points on your body.
Yes, and the points is what I think more people need, but again, it depends on the person, their programming, their frequency, their injury history, their level of their training age, right? Like all of us have a higher training age than the clients do, so like you need more to produce results. So again, it's a novelty thing, like the clients can have now other things to do outside of just the standard monotonous shoulder CAR. They can now focus on keeping one thing still, opening this up, doing it elevated and seeing where they can move.
It's almost like that fine brush.
Exactly. You have the big paintbrush to do the global space, and now how well can we articulate movement when we kind of add these constraints as layers to it. And I think for like general population, it's a good way of just viewing it as like a dynamic warm-up. You're exploring workspace before you go ahead and try to train tissue at length or short, right? Like this should start off the rest of your internal training in your warm-up.